Welcome to Meredith Images Tutorials. Today I'm going to show you how to turn your logo into a watermark to use on your images. This is my finished image and we're going to recreate this together. So I just wanted to show you what the finished is going to look like. So we're going to close this one. And we're going to start with a new blank file. So we're going to go File, New, Blank File. And I'm going to work in inches. So we're going to change that. And we're going to go with about 10 by 12. Size isn't too important as long as it's big enough. We can always crop it down later. We want our resolution to be 300. You always want that better quality. And the key is to make sure that our background contents are transparent. So we'll say OK. And that gives us our new blank file that we're going to work on. So even though the type tool creates its own layer, I want to keep this blank layer down here. So I'm going to click on the new layer icon and add another layer. That's going to turn into our type layer. I'm going to click on my type tool and I'm going to choose my first typeface, which is going to be Rage Italic. And we're going to work in black for right now just so that we can see what we're doing. I do want white letters at the end, but we'll go back and change that. If we try to do white on transparent, it's going to be very difficult to see. So we're going to start with black. I want that typeface. I do want 100 point, and I'm going to leave it uncentered so I can just click in the middle and start typing. Okay, and click the green check mark. And now that I have the handles around my type, I want to angle my type. This is just my preference and the way that I designed my logo. So when I get my cursor up here by this corner, you'll see it turn into that curved arrow. I can click and drag this to the angle that I want. And it's going to be about there. And then we'll hit the green check mark to accept that. And then I'm going to add another layer, and we're going to type our other word because I have a different typeface for that, so I want it to be on a separate layer. So we're going to click the type tool again, go back to our fonts, and this time I want Tecton Pro. And it's uncentered. I want this to be smaller. I'm going to use 48 point. And we're going to click over here and just type images in all caps. And I'm going to highlight that type because I do want it to be bold. And then I also want the letter I to be a larger cap, like an initial cap. So I'm going to change that to 60 point. Now remember, you can also choose any size you want. You're not limited to what's in the drop-down menu. If I wanted, say, 58 point, I would just erase this and you could just type in whatever number that you want. So we're going to leave it at 60 for now. I'm going to click my green check mark and now I can move this into position like so. So now we're going to go back and we can crop a little of this just to get rid of some of the excess out of our way. So let's do a quick crop and we'll do more at the end. Now I'm going to change the type to my white type. So I'm going to click on the first layer, click on the color selector, and just double click on the white. Hit the green check mark. Do the same thing with this layer. Double click to highlight. Click here and double click to select the white. And the green check mark. So you can see how difficult that would have been to do the white lettering on the transparent. It's always better to choose black or even another color to get it set up and in position, and then we can change it. Now the way I finished off my lettering was I wanted a thin outline, and I also used a drop shadow. So I'm going to click on the first layer. We're going to go to our effects palette down here. And we're going to use the style menu. This is layer styles, which is the center of these three up here. And from the drop down, I chose strokes. And that brought me to this panel. And you can just double click any one to apply it and try them and see what you like. If I went with a larger one, I think that's a little too heavy. I'm going to just go with this one, which is just 2 pixels. And then I also applied a drop shadow to this, so I'm going to go back to this drop down menu and go to my drop shadows. And I happen to like this one that is a hard edged one. Again, you can double click and try whatever you like if you want something, different. That's completely up to you. It's your logo to create as you wish. So then I'm going to go back to my layers palette, choose my other layer. Oops, only needed to single click it. Go back to effects. Let's apply the drop shadow while we're there, and then we can go back and do the stroke 2 pixels. Back to our layers, and we are done. That would be our finished logo. So let's do our final crop, and like so. Come up a little bit here and a little bit here, and we're good. Now the key to this is we're going to save this file twice. First we want to do our file, save as, and save it as the Photoshop file. So if you want to go back to it and change colors or move something around, you still have all of those layers intact. So we're going to do logo test 2 and hit save. I'm just going to save it to my desktop for right now so I can find it, but you can save it to whatever folder you like. Now the real key is doing our file, save as again, and this time we want to select the format PNG. So rather than a Photoshop file or a JPEG file, we want to select this PNG, and what that's going to do is retain that transparent background. We don't want to have a white square there as we bring this into our photo. When you get this box, just say OK. So now I'm going to open up a photo and I'll show you how to drag it over. So I'm just going to open something I used recently. And I'm going to grab my move tool, open my photo bin. So we have our logo here and our photo. So you always want the photo to be the active image. I'm just going to click on my logo, click, hold, drag, and drop. And of course that's much too big, so I'm going to grab my corner handle and drag it down. And as long as you grab the corner, it will keep it in proportion and it won't distort the logo. And then I'm going to drag it into position. And usually I find that all white is a little too bright, and actually should be the top layer, so let's bring that up to the top. So I'm going to lower the opacity of that layer. Usually I use around 75 to 80%. And you can bring it down more if you wish, and just click off and you'll see there's your logo. It's a little bit lighter than a solid white, but yet it gives it some depth. You don't always see the drop shadow depending on the background of your image, but when it's on a lighter photo or a lighter area of a photo, if I had this on something such as the window, it just gives it a little bit of depth. It's nothing that's going to really stand out, but it does help the logo in the long run. So that is my version of dragging your logo into your photo and making your watermark. I hope that helped you. Thank you for sharing your photographic journey with Meredith Images, and we'll see you again soon.